Stress is part of our daily lives, and the workplace can be especially stressful. Stress affects our minds, our bodies, our health, and even our performance on the job. In fact, there are estimates that up to 70% of visits to primary care physicians are related to stress and anxiety. So, stress also affects our absenteeism rates in our businesses. In order to control stress more effectively, there are a lot of short-term kinds of stress management techniques that we can use, but they tend to be temporary in nature. To really develop a good strategy for dealing with stress on a long-term basis, it's important to understand what stress is all about and what effects it has on our body. First of all, what is stress? Stress is really a time when we are perceiving a challenge to our bodies or our minds, and what happens is our bodies trigger a flow of stress hormones, basically adrenaline and cortisol. And what this does to our body is it increases our heart rate, increases blood pressure, we breathe more rapidly, and it causes more blood flow to go to our arms and our legs. It's what we call the fight or flight response. And what this does is it prepares us to be stronger and faster than we would normally be. Now, this is an important survival characteristic. If you can consider in primitive times, if we needed to run from predators or fight with competitors, that adrenaline response is something that would give us that additional strength and speed that we need. Unfortunately, today, it kind of works against us. And what I mean by that is in primitive times, we might be stressed several times a day, maybe 4 or 5 times. We might be stressed because we were threatened by a predator or fighting with competing humans for water or food. Today, people are stressed up to 50 times a day. That's too many times for that adrenaline response. That's too much high blood pressure, it's too much wear and tear on the heart rate, and it's very difficult for us to deal with things mentally when we're in that state of mind. In order to handle stress more effectively, you really have 3 options. The first option is to not let the stressor bother you. Now, that's easier said than done. But if there are things that are bothering you on the job, let's say you have a problem with a boss or a problem with a coworker, if you can work out the problem, you can stop the stressor. When that's not an option, your second choice is to change the way that you respond to the stress. I remember a long time ago, I was working with my dad on my first home, and I guess I was complaining about work. I was frustrated with my lack of progress, and my boss was getting on my nerves, some of my coworkers were bugging me. Anyway, my dad asked me a strange question. As I was complaining to him, he said, "Well, is it still a good deal?" And I didn't know what he meant at first. I said, "What do you mean a good deal, Dad? I'm talking about work." He said, "Well, where did you get the money for the materials that we're using to fix the house? Where do you get the money for your food and your clothing? Where do you get the money for your..." And as he explained to me that, you know what, you do get a lot out of the place that you work at, I thought it over and thought, you know what, it really wasn't a bad deal. And that's the second option. Can you think of a different way of looking at what the stressor is if you can't change the stressor? Your third choice is mitigation. In other words, change the way your body responds to stress. This is where exercise and relaxation, getting the right amount of sleep, and proper nutrition make all the difference in the world. The better shape you're in physically, the better you'll be able to deal with the stressors in your life. Now, what happens when you relax or even after exercising is you get what we call relaxation response. The relaxation response lowers blood pressure, lowers your heart rate and respiration, and is great for your overall health besides helping you deal with stress more effectively. If you'd like to have an in-house workshop on stress management, contact Bob Stezzi Training or go to stezzitraining.com. Thank you.